Yeah, super excited to talk with you about your film and this like what I feel to be such a huge deal to have a directorial debut and be premiering at South by Southwest. That's amazing. Fun. So I wanted to ask, what was your inspiration behind this film and like where did the idea stem from?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you.
Mhm.
I'm so it's fun because we haven't premiered yet, and so it's always so exciting hearing people who've watched the film and
Yeah,
liked it. I'm like, oh my god, amazing.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think the film came from a number of places. I grew up in entertainment, and so much of my like understanding of like both extreme emotion and also like being perceived has stemmed from like growing up in that
Yeah.
and learning to oh she's the love interest, so you need to look a certain way, you need to dress a certain way, and like whatever that like standard means, even though that's not necessarily how the love interest for this person or that person should be presenting, right?
Mhm.
But there are sort of these like markers in character descriptions that you're like, oh, I guess I'm preppy, or I guess I'm, whatever it is that you kind of are like reading into the character description. And so I was deeply interested in all of that. And then I think as social media and the internet have kind of taken over more and more, I've just been thinking about like the ways in which now not only child actors but kind of everyone is able to look at other people and compare themselves and think, oh, I should be looking this way or dressing that way, or getting this done to my face. There's so many, just the ways to compare and feel inferior are increasing by the second. And so I was deeply interested in all of that, and kind of wanted to explore that in a way that felt like both familiar and different, and a little like haunted, but like kind of benevolently haunted until it's like body like horror-ish almost.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, I felt like you hit all of the marks and I totally understand what you're saying. It's such a especially being an actor now, it's such a vulnerable, even more vulnerable than like the natural state of being an actor or an actress. And with social media and all the influences, yeah, like nobody's face moves anymore. And then you're like, do I need to do that? So I feel like you portrayed that really, really well. Did you have an emotional journey in mind that you wanted like the audience to go through by the end of the film? Because I feel like everyone can relate to this on a different level, whether they are in entertainment or they're an artist or just like a girl in the world. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I think I really wanted to put the viewer largely in Delaney's shoes. I also wanted to like give some touch points for questioning Delaney, and not being, not completely endorsing what she's going
Yeah.
through, but I wanted the like big feelings and
Mm.
the intensity to be felt. And so that was definitely like integral, especially when thinking about how we were editing. We were like using sort of the pace of technology, of the texts and the calls, and all of the things to kind of create that urgency that she feels.
It felt like a very like modern take, but also is pretty timeless, I guess I would say, in the last like decade or so. You kind of touched on this, but was there any like specific things that you were most interested in like really like picking apart and examining that experience and like those kinds of really sensitive topics for people?
Absolutely. I think I was really interested in exploring the ways that we sometimes even accidentally police each other into abiding by these standards, and like create this sense of perhaps false competition. Um, I cared a lot about like the relationship between Delaney and Maya, her best friend, as well as Delaney and her mother, and Delaney and Heather Morris's character, who she's like the mother of the children she babysits for, but
Mhm.
she's like a successful actress. I wanted to see the ways in which, with her best friend, they're both auditioning for the same roles, and they both kind of end up betraying each other in some ways, but then and uh, when one of them has a success, like like Delaney cannot be happy for her friend, and uses that as like to just further spiral and kind of wig out, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, Instead of like acknowledging that we can all kind of like rise up together and like
Mhm.
support each other and then be in creative community that like supports each other.
Mhm.
And I think that that is like so necessary for young artists, is to
Yeah.
like foster community and not feel that jealousy, but also like acknowledge that it's like a complicated thing to go through and to be
Mhm.
living through, especially when it can feel so personal sometimes.
Yeah.
So that was a really important relationship that I kind of wanted to like really tease out. And
Mhm.
I wanted it to kind of shift where at first maybe you side with Delaney, where you're like, oh yeah, who's Maya? Like, what's she doing? And then maybe it shifts to siding with with Maya a bit more than Delaney. And with her mother, I think like Delaney and her mom both really love each other and do want the best for each other, but there are challenges with the way that things are communicated and the way that they both hear each other, and the way things are said and communicated, which also propels Delaney further down this
Yeah.
path. Even if eventually her mom is like, "Oh no, like of course I didn't want this."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching how both of those female relationships panned out. And I think it speaks a lot on I hate to say like it's kind of a canon event to be so young and feel like you're up against someone that is close to you in like a female relationship. But it always seems to happen, and then like having to grow out of that and like learn from it is always pivotal. But I was watching that and I was like, this is I can see how like so many people can relate to this on any kind of level, especially when you're best friends with like an artist, or like when you're best friends with someone that isn't like in the same industry as you. Um, it might, especially when you're young, it might cross your mind, and like how will that manifest if you don't stop it in its tracks?
Absolutely.
So I thought that that was really interesting how that panned out. But I really wanted to talk to you about how you're wearing all the hats, writer, director, actor,
Yeah.
producer. What does that process look like for you? I'm always fascinated when someone is the main character of a film that they are directing and they wrote. That's a big girl job. Like I want to hear all the things.
Yeah, totally. So I was actually really lucky that I had acted in projects that
Mhm.
with people who had acted and directed,
Mm.
like in other feature films. So
Yeah.
I have been on sets where that was the case before, which I think was really helpful because both got to experience sort of like the good and the bad, and also
Mhm.
like get some advice. Um, so that was like very helpful sort of background information, and experience. And then I think like the biggest thing was just first of all like assembling the team of like collaborators of our creative team, our crew, our cast, and I just really was so fortunate to have such thoughtful people on board. And then with those department heads, we really like just spent so much time in pre-production prepping and talking about absolutely everything that we could anticipate, to try to really get ahead of things because
Mhm.
once we got into production, time was definitely more limited. I think that basically the way it looked on set was every night before the next day, after we wrapped, I would like meet with one of my producers and we would go through the next day and we would go through the shot list. We would go through all of the like different department notes. We would go through each scene, like each character's arc for that scene and like what we needed to make sure that we got from performances. Um, and part of that was because in a lot of the film it's just me on camera and
Yeah.
so it was really making sure that like we are getting the nuances that we need to be getting,
Mhm.
that I want to be getting, and so we always had at least one producer on monitor who was kind of acting as my eyes when there wasn't necessarily time for me to watch playback of everything.
Yeah.
um, and so that was really really integral. And then basically in the morning before production, so it was
Mhm.
after we'd shoot, we would do that, and then before the that following day, I
Yeah.
would get to set like an hour or two early and go through all the scenes as an actor and kind of take the time to like make sure that I was giving myself the space to like connect again to the material in a more performance driven way,
Mhm.
so that once we were like actually in the chaos of the day, I could like exist as a director and kind of connect people and whatever until we were on set about to film, and then I would kind of switch back into actor mode. But
Yeah.
I luckily had just done the work and could like access more
Right.
readily what
Yeah.
yeah. So it
Yeah.
was a lot, but it was
No,
great. It was
I
like
can
my
imagine.
happy place.
No, totally. I can imagine. Like it sounds like you prepped all areas in the way that they needed to be prepped. Because I was going to ask, it sounds like a lot of what you're saying is like the technical side of wearing all the hats, and I was going to ask about like how you feel like you're maintaining tone as a director while also being the subject. That's I'm sure like that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Like I love directing. Like I have a big passion for that. And like directing other people, like being the person that's being directed also, I'm like, oh my God. I
No,
don't know.
totally. And also like finding a way to kind of step out of the
Right.
actor role and then be able to give notes is also like a challenging thing. Like,
Yeah.
um, as much as I could, I tried not to just like the scene would end and then be like, okay, so when we do this next one, let you know, like was trying
Yeah.
not to just immediately switch into that.
Yeah.
Basically, like what I would normally do is kind of we would cut and then I would like run to Video Village and
Mm.
then like take a beat, think about things, and then come back, which kind of
Mhm.
like allowed for a reset so it doesn't feel like your scene partner is just like, okay, so actually,
Yeah.
trying not to come from a place of where it feels a little bit strange because there is like a kind of bizarre power dynamic at play there
Yeah.
that I tried to be aware of as much as I could be.
Yeah. I can imagine. I was gonna say like you really have to step outside of yourself and like let go of any ego, to be able to like watch yourself in like a like objectively, I guess.
Mhm.
And be able to make notes for yourself and like
For sure.
okay, if I didn't do that good in that take, now I know what I can do for the next one. Last question for you, Emily. Thank you so much for your time. I want to say that. But how do you feel about going to South by Southwest? Oh my gosh.
I'm so excited. I've never been to South by Southwest, and I am
Hmm.
just so excited. I've always wanted to go.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of overwhelmed to be honest, because I'm like, there's
Hmm.
so much that I want to see and do,
Yeah.
and so many incredible people that are going to be there, and I'm like, oh, gosh, I need like 100 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I need
but
2 weeks.
we'll do
Yeah.
everything we can. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.